Hello, and welcome to another Drive World tier list. This time, we'll be going over the best cars for 600 score events. I've tested over half the cars here, so this will be one of the most accurate tier lists I'll do. Before we get started, I want to go over why there is some very confusing placements in this tier list. If a car is over the 600 limit, unless it's the La Razza, engine swapping it to go back down to 600 will make the car most likely terrible. This is because the stock engines have much more torque than swaps, especially on the Vulture, Wagon, and Odin. Yes, I still haven't updated that icon. You may have also noticed the mixture is missing. It's literally impossible to make this a 600 car, let alone 800. As usual, let's start on it exists. These cars are barely usable in 600, but can be okay in a good driver's hands. Despite how good these cars are, they all suffer the same fate, needing to engine swap. The Carbons and Cyan have to downgrade, and the Wagon needs to upgrade. Because of this, all four cars will lose the torque that made them so good in the first place. And the Microbus is just here, vibing. It doesn't have the top speed nor handling to be any higher, but it's monstrously fast accelerating. Next is competitive. These cars perform well enough to be near the top half of the 600 class, and are fun to drive. Despite what I said about these two only being good in a straight line, they're actually only in the upper bracket for highways as their acceleration is quite slow. Unusually, they are very average around race circuit thanks to their decent handling, despite their tendency to spin. The only reason why the Trofeo is up here is because it's lighter than the Carbon RS and Cyan, so it might be able to get away with a swap. The Civil is surprisingly not as good as I thought it was, but it's still a good budget performer as it's a free car, plus 50k to bring to 600. The Exoticas are still bad. They supposedly handle well, though. And finally, the Super is a good circuit car, but it has a very low top speed. Swapping in an i6 will fix this issue. Here's the meta. These cars will get you wins. All three Apexes are heavy and like to roll over, but they're fast in the right hands. The Blip JTI is oversteery, but fast in a straight line. The Comet is heavy and difficult to drive, but it has one of the highest top speeds in this class. Good luck reaching it, though. Comet RS is just a better Comet as far as I know. I've placed these three supercars up here because, unlike their faster counterparts, they're within the limits of 600, and don't need to downgrade to a worse engine. All I know about the 977 is that it's, quote, a great car. All three Stratuses have great handling and acceleration but suffer from low top speed. The Stallion has a very high top speed, but it's slow accelerating. Handling is sharper than the Cruiser though. Tiger has a low top speed as well, even with a V10, but its handling and acceleration make up for it. And the Zen 3 is just a good all-rounder. Here's the meta killers. Every car in here will get you a win, no questions asked. The La Razza, even with a lesser engine swap, will be overpowered in handling anyway, and it's much lighter than the other hypercars. Nightline S35 really surprised me, as I thought this car was overhyped. Turns out it's even quicker than the Sturs at race circuit. Speaking of which, both the ST3 and Sturs should be good on any track with handling involved. The Turbo S explains itself, being the fastest car in the game right now, even in 600. The Odin really earns its Norse god name here, as it's easily capable of reaching 327 miles per hour even in 600. It also has the best acceleration in this class. And to round off this row, the two Aero GTs. Not sure what they actually do in 600, but I believe they belong here. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. The worst cars in 600. First up, we have the Blip. This is a direct downgrade to the Blip JTI, and it definitely shows while driving. It doesn't matter if the JTI is V10 swapped, either. This is still bad when they're both 400. The three muscle cars are just underwhelming everywhere, being the lowest performers on race circuit and almost at the bottom on highlands. Nightline S34 can only be 600 if it's V8 swapped, as it already has an i6. The V8, as we all know, is garbage. The Roadster is really depressingly slow. The Zen 4 seemed good at first, then I looked at its time on the spreadsheet and nearly vomited. And, finally, the Vulture. Remember what I said about the whole engine swaps have less torque thing? Guess which car has the highest torque in the game? Stock. And, usering. Please just give these some horsepower upgrades already.